This is WFYI News Now. It's September 12th, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. On today's show, a new report reveals it's fairly common for teachers and school workers to be hurt by a student while in the classroom. A judge rejects an effort by abortion care providers to expand the health exception in Indiana's near-total abortion ban. A new federal law means women will get breast density assessment reports after getting a mammogram. And an independent firm will investigate sexual harassment allegations in the Hogsett administration.
There's no question about it. One should never, ever feel unsafe in this place.
Those stories are coming up, but first, Indianapolis Animal Care Services will continue limited animal intake after test results came back positive for canine infectious respiratory diseases complex, also known as kennel cough. Officials with IACS announced the pause last week after a dog died less than a day after showing signs of sickness. Another dog has begun showing symptoms and is currently isolated. The shelter management and veterinary experts are working to prevent additional spread of the illness. Dogs that are coughing, sneezing, or showing any signs of respiratory illness will be isolated, treated, and monitored. IACS will continue to accept injured animals or animals that may be a risk to the public. Shelter animals can still be adopted. The shelter will resume regular animal intake once it's ensured the illness is not spreading and symptoms are not present within the shelter population. Indiana teachers and school workers were injured by students on the job more than 3,000 times, a new state report reveals. The report quantifies a regular discussion among educators across the state that it's fairly common to be hurt by a student while in the classroom. From WFYI's Education Desk, Rachel Fredette has more.
Some school districts tallied more than 100 employee injuries caused by students in the 2023-24 school year. Those incidents were broken down into categories: if a teacher missed part or one workday, declared for workers' compensation, and if the injury falls under the public schools reporting policy. A 2023 state law told school districts to track employee injuries, then report that data to the state's Department of Education. Keith Gamble is president of the state's largest teachers union. He says this data assesses a statewide problem and is a step towards change.
Continuing to work on the process of collecting the data is important, but where we really need to then begin to focus is what can we do to help drive that number down.
The union advocated for this database before it became law to give educators confidence that they are working in a safe environment. I'm Rachel Fredette.
The state will release this report annually. A county judge rejected an effort by abortion care providers to expand the health exception in Indiana's near-total abortion ban. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Brandon Smith reports on the latest development in the ongoing legal battles around the controversial law.
The Indiana Supreme Court ruled last year that the state constitution guarantees the right to abortion only if a pregnant person's life or serious health is at risk. That is one of the few exceptions to Indiana's abortion ban, but some of the state's abortion care providers argued in court that exception in the law is vague and too narrow. But Judge Kelsey Hanlon disagrees. She says the providers couldn't come up with any examples of medical conditions that would cause serious health risks but aren't allowed under the law. Hanlon also rejected the arguments that emotional or mental health conditions should be allowed under the law, saying there is no evidence that abortion is necessary to treat such conditions. And Hanlon says that while some doctors can't be certain what qualifies under the ban's health exception, the law is not too vague. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
Women across the U.S. will get a report with their mammogram results that tell them about their breast density assessment, thanks to a new federal law that took effect this week. Side Effects Public Media's Farah Usuri reports this would help level up the care women get.
Breast density has nothing to do with the shape or feel of the breast. It's actually a measure of how much glandular tissue the breast has. Dense breasts may make it harder to detect abnormal growths on a regular mammogram, which could mean the woman may benefit from further screenings. Dr. Tara Ballinger is a breast oncologist at IU Simon Comprehensive Cancer Center. She says there's another reason breast density matters.
Breast density actually increases risk of getting breast cancer. So the more glands you have, the more cells you have. So statistically, the more likelihood that something goes wrong and cancer can form.
Prior to this federal rule, some states did not have any requirement to explain to patients their breast density, but now all states will have to do it. Bellinger says the next frontier would be to ensure that health insurance covers the additional screenings women may need. I'm Farah Yusri.
And for our final story today, the Indianapolis City-County Council passed a proposal to create an investigative committee at its meeting Monday night. The committee will hire an independent firm to investigate sexual harassment allegations in the Hogsett administration. Councilor John Barth says the proposal is needed to restore trust in city government.
This investigative committee will not only hold leadership accountable, but will also demonstrate our commitment to fostering a workplace culture where respect and safety are prioritized.
The move comes after 3 women accused Hogsett's former chief of staff, Thomas Cook, of sexual harassment. More people have come forward in the following weeks, resulting in the termination of 1 employee last week. The committee will consist of 7 counselors who will be able to subpoena witnesses. The independent firm will recommend policy changes to the council committee. Council President Vop Osili said the move is needed to protect all city employees.
There's no question about it. One should never, ever feel unsafe in this place.
The city has moved to adopt other changes, including harassment training for all city-county employees. And that's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Dodlin, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Cyraniel Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.